It's the Empowerment Perspective Podcast, hosted by Demiso Josie and Mr. Kareem Spence. Stay empowered.
All right, welcome to yet another episode of the Empowerment Perspective Podcast. I go by the name of Dr. Demiso A. Josie alongside.
Prince is here.
How we doing, sir?
It's getting rough. Like, they need to open up these boundaries, man. Let us start doing stuff. It's rough out here. It's rough out here in these streets. Not being able to I feel like I'm on house arrest.
Your hair is growing in. You're not rocking a hat today.
Listen, you really gonna see what people really look like.
That's it. I love it. I like the all natural look. I don't like all the makeup and all that stuff. So, you know, it is what it is. I'm ready.
I need you to lie to me because I don't really want to believe that you actually look like that. I need you to lie to me. I want to live in the fantasy world.
We're reaching out to a whole bunch of different people. Again, at this particular point, what we're trying to do is trying to get you to think about planning for after things go back to the new normal, I guess we could say. So now, again, it's the perfect time for you to really revise your plan, do your personal assessments and things of that nature, and be ready to move forward. And one of the areas that we're looking at on this particular podcast is about planning for college, because the reality is there's people that are seniors that are going through this and juniors, and parents still need to be prepared for what's going to happen on the back end of that. So what we did is we reached out to our network on LinkedIn, and I was blessed enough to find somebody that was willing to come on and talk about college planning. Her name is Miss Sherri Lewis. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you for enjoying or agreeing to be on the show. Where are you located?
I am in Dover, Delaware.
Dover, Delaware. So how are things down in Delaware for you guys down there?
Everything is pretty much shut down. So you can go to the grocery store, pharmacy. That's pretty much it. So everything is sheltered in place or locked down, however you want to phrase it.
Gotcha. And if you can explain to our audience what exactly you do in terms of your organization.
Sure. I am the owner of College Planning 411, and what I do is I work with students and their families in navigating the path to college. So I help them develop a list of schools that are a good fit for the student. I also help them with completing the applications as well as editing essays so that they're memorable, leaving a great impression with college admissions officers and really capturing who the student is.
Okay. Kareem, if you remember, we had Dr. Johnson on talking about the dissertation process, and his dissertation focused on why students pick certain colleges. And one of the things he talked about is fit. Can you just give a recap of that particular part of the podcast and your thoughts on it?
Well, for me, and we talked about it, and I said if I can go back and do it all over again, I was looking at the University of Hawaii, or possibly a HBCU. I think that being able to know which environment you're going to be able to best, I want to say, survive in, because college is really about being able to survive. That right there will actually give you the best opportunity to be able to be productive in college and be able to have a network that so that you, after college, you can actually have some friends that you can actually talk to and be able to have lifelong friends. So being able to have that college fit is, and that location, like for me, don't put me in the city because I'm not going to school. I can tell you that now. I need to be in a secluded, quarantine type school environment where they don't have this campus. Because if you leave me in the city of Philadelphia, I'm not going to class. I can tell you that now. I'm going to be down South Street every single day. And we talk about being at Club and College. I'm going to be there every single day. So knowing what is going to work for you going into that process of which college you want to select is huge.
Now, Sherri, what are some of the things that you look to help students figure out their fit in terms of their college experience or choice?
Well, I look at things like size of the school, the location of the school, what type of program they're interested in majoring in, if they have an idea of what they want to major in. If they don't, then what I do with them is I look at all of the programs that are available in the school so that when they finally decide what they want to major in, they don't have to transfer to a college because what they're interested in isn't at the school that they're enrolled in. So it really is what I advise students and families to do is to look at a couple of different college campuses, like actually visit those college campuses so that they can get a feel for what feels good to them, sort of like Goldilocks and the Three Bears and finding that right fit.
Right. Now, Jamie, you're kind of just went through that process with one of your oldest children. How did you go through that process of making sure that this school is a fit for her?
Well, we saw Drexel, we went to Rutgers, we went to Rowan, we went to different colleges, and eventually she chose Rutgers, but then decided before going back her second semester that Rutgers wasn't right for her, and she didn't want to leave the house. She wasn't ready to live on campus. So she's back in community college now, and she's going to stay there until she's ready to move on to a campus. She doesn't feel like she can do it without being at home right now.
Got you. I'm reflecting back on my selection of going to Temple University, and I could pinpoint exactly why I chose that. It had nothing to do with academics, had nothing to do with location. It was a year before. It was moving day. It was a perfect day, and I saw all these girls moving their stuff into their dorms, and I was like, I think I want to go to Temple. That was to say my decision in terms of fit. It was close to home. It was right over the bridge, so it wasn't like I had to go far. I knew I liked the city. I liked the be around the hustle and bustle. But at the same time, unlike Kareem, I was able to focus in that environment. I think if I was out in the middle of nowhere, it would be hard for me to do that. But Kareem, how did you decide on what school you wanted to go?
I went to school late. So for me, after I got all my partying in, I said, okay, now it's time to start life. So I commuted back and forth. I didn't stay on campus. I didn't have that experience. So I just went to Stockton. And from there, I completed the rest of my courses online. But I needed to get all of that partying out of me because, again, I wouldn't have made it. So you're talking about the good times. You're talking about 91, 92, 93, 94. Man, listen, I wasn't going to college at all. I wouldn't have made it. I would have been in remedial classes on academic probation. It just would not have been a good fit for me at that time on any college campus.
Right.
Harvard homecoming? Listen, no. Freak me? No, I'm not going to make it.
Now, Sherri, given the days and times right now, technology obviously has changed to the point where we have remote learning and online things. Is that factoring into some of the decisions that some of these students are making on your end, whether they can actually still be at home and take classes or have the ability to take extra classes online?
One of the things that I am telling families, like the students that are currently juniors who are just starting the college process, is I'm telling them one of the things that they need to be looking at schools is whether or not online learning is already in place, because it may very well be that school's not in session in September. For students that are seniors that are right now getting their acceptance letters from colleges, typically they would go to an accepted student event. Virginia Tech, for example, always has an event where students can go to really help solidify that is going to be a good school or the perfect fit for them. So what some of these colleges are doing is they're starting to have these virtual accepted students days so that students can still meet with other students who were accepted, meet with some of the professors, all virtually, so that they can then make the decision about whether or not they want to attend that college.
Got you. Another thing, when you were talking, I was thinking I had a conversation with a teacher of mine whose daughter is going through the process now, and trying to figure out what school she wanted to go to, and did they have the right major, what kind of classes that she needed to take. And one of the things I keep telling parents is, like, we're living in a day and a time where you can actually obviously look that stuff up on the internet, but also be proactive and actually call the colleges and universities to find out if your child is actually on the right path to taking the classes that they need and things of that nature. Is that something that you can recommend that parents do to kind of get ahead of this and not necessarily just going in it blindly and finding out later that, well, I needed to take this class or that class in order to fulfill this major or whatever?
Yes, absolutely. There are a couple of ways that you can go about it. One is, like you said, going on the internet and, looking to see what classes the college is recommending that you take. I find that most states, their graduation requirements are aligned with what colleges are looking for. But if you're looking at some of the more competitive colleges like the Ivies or even the mini Ivies, then it is a good idea to reach out to some of the college admissions officers and just say, what exactly should I be taking as I'm thinking about my classes for next year is something that I can help with as well. And it's also a great, like if you're reaching out to that admissions officer, it's a great way to start establishing that connection and letting the college know that you're interested, that they're one of your top choices.
Gotcha. Now, should parents and students be looking beyond the 4 years or 6 years or whatever they're going to be in school in terms of their career and their specifically location? Because more people that I talk to, like, once you graduated, you don't really go far from the school that you graduated. That's something that should be taken into consideration at the end of the process.
It should actually be taken into consideration as you begin the process. One of the things that I try and emphasize with the families that I work with is what type of career opportunities are available at the college. Are there co-op opportunities? Are there internship, externship opportunities, hands-on experiential learning, so that while the students are in college, they're also building their resumes, making themselves more employable. In terms of location, will they be able to be employable within the area that their college is located is not something that I hyper focus on, because if you've got a good resume, if you've got the experience, you're pretty much going to be hireable anywhere.
Got you. Now, Kareem, you're at the middle school level, and I know one of your biggest pushes is to get expose those kids to as much stuff as they possibly can be exposed to in terms of college and things. What are some of the things that you are doing on your level to expose them early?
So even with middle school, just having the conversation of which direction they're going to head in. So whether it's going to be college, whether it's going to be military, or even technical school, that's something that should really be decided on, or even have an answer to before they hit ninth grade, so they can actually start picking their classes to align them in that direction that they're going. The other thing I do is I give my kids copies of their free ACT test. So I have them sit down and look at some of the material that's there, so that if they actually are going to go to college, at least they'll be familiar with some of the math as well as the testing requirements that's going to be there for them to get that acceptance. The ACT and SAT, I mean, that'll put you in a platform where so that college for money is available for you from different colleges.
Gotcha. Now, Jamie, are you having similar conversations with your students in your classroom, or are you talking about careers and I guess potentially going to college within your classroom?
So I teach students that might not all necessarily want to go to college. A lot of them want to do things outside of college. So we talk about vocational things. A few of my students actually have talked about cooking and baking and doing something along the lines of that. So we've talked about programs like that ACCC has where they can do something culinary wise. So I try to find out in the beginning of the year what interests them and what they want to do as adults. And we talk about it throughout the school year. Got you.
Now, Sherri, there's a lot of people decide to go the community college route before they go to a 4-year institution and beyond to try to save money. Is that usually a strategy that you're seeing a lot of? Should they be careful about the community colleges they select because of the fact that some of the credits may not transfer to the 4-year institution and interested in?
With the students that I work with, most of them just go directly into 4-year colleges. When I was working in a school system as a guidance counselor, I had students that would take both paths. And it was within the state of Massachusetts and Virginia. And both of those states have community colleges that have partnered with state colleges so that all of the credits are transferable. And it really is a great way to save a lot of money and make college more affordable, to do the 2 years of community college and then transfer to a 4-year college and get your bachelor's degree. It's a great way to save money.
Got you. Now, I want to know why. One of the big things that we talk about here on the Common Perspective podcast is our why, and we believe that the why is a huge factor in terms of your behavior and the decisions that you make. Why is this work important to you? Why did you decide to get into this?
Honestly, I've I've wanted to be a teacher since I was a little girl. And so I started off as a teacher and then became a guidance counselor because a lot of students would come and talk with me about their problems when I was a teacher. So it just seemed like a natural transition for me. And then I moved up to the high school level. I had started at the middle school level. And when I moved up to the high school, it was more about college and career pathways and what students were going to do after high school. And it just is something that I've just grown passionate about. I really enjoy the work that I do, and especially seeing the results 4 or 5 years down the road when, my paths cross with some of the students I work with and I find out what they're doing with their careers. It just is, it's pretty remarkable.
I get it. And it's one of the things I struggle with in education is that, at least the way that I measure my success is not necessarily tangible. Like I don't necessarily see the end result until maybe a student comes back and says, you had this impact on me. Jamie, how do you measure your success in terms of you personally, not like any test scores or anything like that, but how do you measure success in the classroom?
I think, again, similar to what you said, it's seeing students that you've taught years ago and they remember you and they remember what you did in the classroom. I just ran into a student at Wawa the other day and she said, "Do you remember me?" And I looked at her face and I did. She was a student my first year of teaching. So I absolutely remembered her, and she talked about everything that she remembered in the classroom. So that's really what helps me remember why I went into teaching.
That's shaking my head because this day of time, you go to Wawa and somebody walk up to you like, "You remember me?" And you like, I don't know. You must around get that Rona.
Was this the other day that you was out there, Jamie?
It was a few days ago.
Uh-huh.
I was
and me, so she asked you the question, right? And it's a real hot question, like, "Hey, do you remember?" And all that hot breath get on you. You walk on, like you like, "Man, my chest don't feel right."
It's something wrong with you, man. Yeah, get out of court.
I need to get back to work.
Yes, you do. Now, Sherri, do you do anything in terms of financial planning for parents and how they should get ready financially for the college process?
The only piece that I work with on the financial aid is, I will help them complete the FAFSA. I will also let them know what schools they need to complete the CSS profile for, but I don't do financial planning in terms of how much money they need to save or ways that they can save money.
Got you. How about the essay writing portion of the application? Do you work with students in terms of that process?
Yes, I do. That is pretty much the only piece of the application where the students really get to show who they are. So that is a very important piece of the application, and it is something that I spend several hours working with students on editing, coming up with ideas to really show who they are and what their contribution will be to the college campus, what they're bringing, who they're about, how they handle challenges. So yes, that is a huge part of what I do with students.
Is that the typical question that you see on the application? Is kind of what you stated? Like, what's the typical question that you'll see on the application in regards to that essay?
What do you mean, like what the essay prompts are?
Yes.
They're pretty standard. They're the Common App essay prompts, and they haven't changed over the past couple of years. Typically what I find students write about is a challenge that they faced or overcame, something that defines who they are. Those are typically the prompts that students tend to gravitate toward.
Gotcha. Now, is there any research prior to that in terms of what that, let's say the Temple University, for example, and the type of students that they traditionally accept in the classroom? Are students doing that work to kind of tailor their essays to the colleges that they potentially want to go to, or is it just a generic essay?
The only time that they tailor the essay to a specific college is if one of the essay prompts that they have to write to is put out by the college, and some colleges have like, why Temple? In other words, why do you want to go to Temple University? In that case, then the student does need to do some research. And typically what I recommend is when you visit a college to take notes about what you liked about the college, what you didn't like about the college, so that when it comes time to write that essay, you have that information and you can include what you liked about the college. But typically, the main college essay that they write for the Common App or for the College for Coalition application, it's just a standard prompt that goes out to every single college they apply to, which is why it's so important that it be a good essay.
So if I can chime in for a second. So what I've done with my current eighth grade is that I actually allow them to look at the essay questions from Stockton. One of the toughest essays, and Jamie will agree, is the essay that you have to write about yourself, because you don't know what people want to know about you. You don't know whether or not you should share all the good stuff, or you should share some of the bad stuff, or some of the things that happened in your life or your experience where as though you had to be resilient. That is a really tough essay, and you're talking about almost 16, 17 years of your life to be able to sum it up in 500 words.
It's an interesting point there. It kind of reminds me of the interview question of kind of like what your strengths and weaknesses are. Every question asks you that question. And what I usually try to tell people that I coach on is that you have to sort of make your weakness seem like a strength, kind of flip it on. So, for example, I'm a procrastinator. It's one of my biggest weaknesses, but I work better under pressure. So getting them to try to figure out how to, expose themselves, but at the same time, use it as a strength. So that seems like one of them type of questions that it's hard for an adult to master. So I can only imagine if these kids are struggling in it as well. And it's good to have people like Sherri that will help them along that process. Jamie, you remember your, I guess the acceptance of the school that you got into? You remember that moment?
Actually, I did something similar to Kareem. I took a few years off from in between high school and college. And then I went to ACCC, and then I transferred to Stockton. So I stayed local, and I worked and went to college at the same time.
Got it. I understand.
She wasn't at the parties. She wasn't at my parties I was at. I could say that. I don't know where she was. She wasn't at my parties.
Neither was he at any of the parties I was at.
We was balling. That's what we were doing. We was in there balling.
Now, Sherri, how can people get in contact with you in your organization?
My website at www.collegeplanning411.net, and then also my email, Sherri@collegeplanning411.net.
Okay, and you work with anyone not in the state of Delaware, but outside of the state of Delaware?
I work with everybody. I have clients in Illinois, Tennessee, Virginia, Maryland, Massachusetts. All of my work is done virtually, so all of my appointments are through FaceTime, Skype, or Zoom, which is really trending right now given the coronavirus. So it works really well because before the coronavirus came, when students were really busy and just going from one activity to another, they got to sit in the comfort of their homes and work with me. So it really works out well.
Got you. So we're gonna wrap this podcast up a little bit. Actually, Jamie, I'm gonna go to you first, and I want you to give any words of wisdom or advice to parents that are, currently working with their kids at home. What are some advice that you could give them during this particular time?
Sure. In the classroom, you mean as far as like teaching online to students?
Yes.
Keep them on their schedule. Make them get up in the morning, check in on Google Classroom, and find out what their plan is for the day. Do not let them wait until 9 o'clock at night.
That sounds like it's coming from personal experience.
Yes.
She's angry. That's
one of the things that we talked about earlier, and I think it was like season 2 or whatever, in terms of parenting and your children and keeping them on a schedule. Not only just because of this, but in general. They should have a schedule. They should have a set time to go to sleep, set time to eat, and they don't know. It decreases the anxiety. Number one, they know what's going to happen, and two, it prepares them, for the next day. So keeping that schedule is important. I know it's hard now because it seems like they have all the free time in the world. Maintaining the schedule is extremely important. Kareem, any last words before we get up out of here?
Well, I'll say this, that when it comes to planning, you're looking at 5-10 years, that's something that can happen overnight, because things change. And every time something changes in the world, you need to make an adjustment. So when you're trying to figure out what 4 years is going to look like, what 10 years is looking like, you create your vision board, and then you make the adjustments, and you continue to adapt to what the world is adapting to. But the other side of it is, when it comes to your children, that's your greatest asset, and you have to take the time to be able to have these conversations with them. Again, I like to go back to the idea of having dinner at the dinner table at 5 o'clock and having those discussions and getting your kids to be able to open up and talk. The more they're able to talk, the more you're able to listen, the more you'll be able to figure out what's going on with your son or daughter, and that you can actually guide them through this wicked world that we're in. If not, they're going to listen to their friends, and they're going to be partying after college. They're going to be partying after high school. Before you know it, they're going to be 40 years old, still on your couch.
That's interesting. Sherri, any last words from you in regards to anything?
For those people who are starting the college process, take advantage of virtual tours. There are some great tools out there like UVisit, eCampus tours. Also take advantage of any virtual seminars that are taking place on colleges so that you can learn about the schools. That way you're not waiting until the last minute when college campuses open up and you can visit.
Awesome. One more time, Sherri, please give your contact information for anyone that's interested.
collegeplanning411.net and Sherri at collegeplanning411.
Awesome. We definitely appreciate you taking the time to talk with us today. Hopefully you and your family stay safe down there in Delaware. And hopefully we're not going as crazy as Kareem is in this quarantine. We got to get out of his cage at some point because he's about to lose it. Again, just some last words for me is that take this time to plan and start working on your process in terms of what's going to happen after, whether it is preparing for college, whether it's preparing to do a career change, or use this time wisely, and don't look at it as always a negative thing, but an opportunity, because this is what's happening right now, is that we are given an opportunity to maybe do something different that we've always wanted to do in life and go a different direction, or maybe it's redefining your current career, and maybe it is going back to school and getting time to I guess broaden your horizons in the academic area. So please stay tuned to us. We're going to keep on bringing you good content. We're going to keep bringing you some useful information every time. So stay safe and stay empowered.